Okay, well, hi everyone, and thank you very much for watching or listening. It's Liam Hartree here today with another episode of the Simply Inspired podcast. And today I'm joined by a very special guest, Helen Ryvar, a runner who has been running 13 miles a day for 555 days, I believe, although actually longer than that now because she did tell me that she's not stopping, not aiming for a specific goal now, but during that time, she has been raising funds for Mind. There's just giving, there's fundraising out there. We'll talk later on about how people can donate and contribute and get involved with that very soon. Super inspirational story, super inspirational lady, really shows that anything is possible. And as always with my interviews, we won't just be talking about sports, we'll be going a little bit deeper into the mindset that it takes to accomplish your goals, push past your limits, and achieve things that some people would consider to be not possible. So, Helen, thank you so much. As I said just now before we were recording, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening and agreeing to do this tonight. I'm very grateful for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time too.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And like I said, just now before we started, I read a little bit about your story. I was blown away, and it's absolutely amazing. So, let's get into it from the beginning now. Obviously, we will touch on what kickstarted your career in terms of running and in terms of everything you're doing now. But very briefly, before we do, if we go back before that, were you ever involved in sports growing up? Was it ever something that interested you, or was it only something that literally started during this family situation, which we will talk about later, if that makes sense, please?
Yeah. So I always enjoyed running at school. That's probably about the only sort of sport that I did enjoy. I went to a private girls' school, so we did hockey and lacrosse and all those kind of sports, which I was really rubbish at. And unless you were really good at them, then the teachers really didn't pay much attention to you. So I just used to rebel and hide and skive off. So I would just run because that was easy. It was simple, and I quite like netball as well. But I never kind of did any sort of competitive level stuff, or I was never really good enough to compete in anything. I just did it for fun, literally. And then it wasn't until later on in life that I started to take it a little bit more seriously. When I didn't ever have any health issues, but I put on weight and I wanted to get fit. And I just found that running was a simple sport and you could just do it wherever you were, whatever time. And it just fit in really well with my lifestyle. So that's the gist of it.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, that gives people a little bit of context in the background and everything. So, but when your journey really took the turn towards what you're doing now and everything like this, obviously we're skipping forward a few years
Yeah.
and everything like that. Now, with this, I am aware that it might not be the easiest thing in the world to talk about by any means. And with that, as I said earlier, I don't like to probe into these things. I'm only asking because you if I say you made it a positive, that sounds insensitive. I don't mean it that way, but you did something with what happened that's obviously having a positive impact on a lot of
Yeah.
people. But if you wouldn't mind sharing just a little bit about that time and a little bit about what kickstarted this journey that you're now on with the 555 days and beyond, because you're not stopping, you're not slowing down. Let's start with where that first came about, please, if that's okay.
Sure, yeah. So I'll keep it brief, but in 2021 we were on lockdown. And about a week before lockdown, I was just literally cooking in my kitchen. I had a knock at the door, and it was two policemen. And straight away, I knew something had happened, like something serious. It's not every day you get two policemen at your door. So I invited them in, and they gave me the devastating news that my ex-husband had actually passed away. He was just found in not great condition. He'd been suffering from mental health issues for a long time, and that was partly the reason why we broke up, why our relationship broke down. So because he suffered, I also suffered from mental health issues. They weren't all his fault. Some were my own issues from childhood, some of my own issues in my head, which I've now worked out. But as a combination together, it was just horrific. And we had quite a turbulent relationship for maybe 13 years. And we had three children together. So we were divorced. We were living in separate parts of the country. And we had been separated at this point for 3 years completely. However, getting that knock at your door to say somebody, the father to your kids is no longer here, has been one of the hardest things I've ever had to deal with in my life. And of course, literally the week after, we were put on lockdown. So I couldn't speak to my family. I couldn't speak to anybody really about it in person. I had to deal with grief in my own way. And the government was like, right, you can go out and run for an hour. You can do some exercise outside of your front door. And then when that was, I think it was must have been more than an hour actually, but we were allowed to go and run as long as it was by ourselves with nobody else. And that's what I started to do. So I just thought, I'm either going to get really ill here and depressed and just wallow in self-pity, be stuck at home, or I can do something about it. So in 2021, I started a run streak unintentionally, but before that I was trying to get fit and healthy, so I'd spend maybe 2 hours in the gym anyway. That would be quite normal. So 2 hours of exercise is a normal time for me to be moving. And then I figured I could run 13.1 miles in 2 hours or thereabouts. So it just became habitual. And then I joined an online fitness group as well with Jamie Alderton. He's like a personal trainer, and that was a 28-day challenge. I think it was in the February, and it was to try and do something consistently for 28 days. So of course I was already doing this running, so I was like, oh yeah, I'll just try and do it for 28 days. And I did it. And then I was like, right, okay, I'm onto something here, just oblivious to what I was really doing at this point. And I ended up going on and on and on and running for 111 consecutive half marathons, and became the current Guinness World Record holder for that. So I think actually uploading the information and dealing with all of that side of things took longer than the actual runs. It took ages to do it. Thankfully, I had a really good friend help me, Andrew, a local guy that works in one of the local computer shops. But I was then challenged in 2022 to do another run streak by a guy called Micah Shavit in Miami. And he'd found me online as the current Guinness World Record holder for women, and there isn't one for men. There's nobody exists for men at the moment on a half marathon run streak. So at this point, when he contacted me, I think he was on about 400. So he'd already way surpassed my 111. And I was like, wow, how far are you going to take this? And he just wanted somebody to virtually sort of motivate him, I think, and keep him accountable. And his goal at that point was maybe 500. So I started another streak off, and I got to 100. I'm like, I'm not ready to finish yet. I got to 150. That was my goal. And I'm not ready to finish yet. And then I've just carried on going from there. So this is where we are today. Today I ran my 571st consecutive half marathon, and I'm still going. So yeah, it's been a long journey. It's over a year and a half of running a consecutive half marathon. So it's been one every day now since the 1st of May, March, May, yeah, 1st of May 2022. So yeah, so that's where I'm at.
Wow, that is absolutely exceptional. I love how you broke the story down there, that you didn't initially plan to go this far with it necessarily, but it
No.
happened a step at a time. So that is amazing. Now, with the Guinness World Record, I just want to focus on that before we talk about some other things, just to get a feel for how you personally felt, what was going through your mind at that time, breaking the Guinness World Record. But also, there's another side to that, is the reaction from your family, your community, the support that you're getting obviously has grown over time, and I'd imagine it's at a very high level of support now. But I'd like to get a feel for one, what was going through your mind breaking that record, because that's a very special thing. Not many people do something like that in a lifetime, or get the chance. So
Yeah.
what was in here, would be great. But also as I say, the community, because that's a big part of what you do as well, with the
Yeah.
fundraising and everything.
Of course, yeah. So on my first streak, like I said, I didn't go out with the intention of creating any kind of record. It just kind of morphed into this amazing thing. And when I got to maybe 3 months of running, I realized that I'm onto something. So I Googled consecutive half marathon women, and I saw that a lady called Sharon Tate Jessup in South Africa had run 101. I think it was Sharon, and there was also another lady. Now I can't remember her name, but she'd also run maybe 100 or thereabout. But they were unofficial Guinness World Records. They'd run them. They were in the press, but they hadn't been signed off by Guinness because it is a long and tedious process. I understand. But the official record for women was 75. So I knew I just had to beat 75, and then if I could get over that, I would be onto something. So it just motivated me to keep going. We were on lockdown still. I had nothing else much to do. I was still working, actually. I was working in the vets at the time. So they remained open during lockdown. But that was only 2 days of the week, and the rest of the time was mine. So I had all this time to keep fit and keep focused and keep my mind sane. But of course, we couldn't still exercise with anybody else. It was all very much working on myself and my own self-limiting beliefs that I was not good enough. I couldn't do this. You know, you're too big, you're overweight, or, you know, I was just feeling all sorts because I just lost my ex-husband. You know, I had my 3 kids. They're now teenagers, but they were quite young. And, you know, I had to sit them down and tell them what had happened and deal with their grief too, because, you know, it affects everybody. It affected my whole family, and it still does. Losing somebody still does. But it's actually made me really stronger, like you said from the outset, twisting a negative thing into a positive thing and just focusing on something made all the difference. So I think this is what humans need, is like that connection. You know, a connection is the antidote to depression, basically. Just connect with something. And for me, that was running. So it's just finding what you're interested in, really getting down to nitty gritty. I have this amazing online personal trainer, like I say, for a month, who was just telling us to read all these books, you know, and read all this stuff on stoicism, and just be accountable for what you're eating and try and cook fresh foods. And it's those little things, they're the things that sort of slip when, you know, you're feeling a bit sorry for yourself or something big has happened. And especially, like I say, again, with lockdown, we couldn't have any help or support from other people. So it's down to you to sort yourself out, basically. And the community grew from the first streak. People started following me on social media. I was being accountable by posting every day. So I posted my runs and what I was eating and what I was doing, and everyone was on social media, weren't they? Because that's all you could really do to communicate. It was all done online. And then for the second streak, I've posted every single run on Facebook and Instagram from the beginning. My routes, I take photos every day. I take my time. I've run all over the world with it now. I've sort of run with people, run clubs. So people just get in touch with me. A local run club, the Pennaford Run Club, got in touch with me. Paul Price, and he was like, you know, can we come and run with you as support? And it's been brilliant. So then 1 finds out, then 2 find out, then 5 find out. Then I'm like, oh, I may as well, you know, we may as well do something here, like have a fancy dress day, or, you know, maybe we can have a regular Friday run. And that kind of happened all over the summer. So this second streak, because there's been no lockdown restrictions as such, I've had a lot more people from the local run clubs come and run with me. Then on big milestones like day 450 or day 500, I've created a big event, and I've had like a meeting point, which has been my local pub in Lly, which is just outside of Wrexham. And people have got together. Anyone has been invited. I've just put it live on Facebook or Instagram, and they can just turn up and come and run with me. And I'd split the run down into like sort of shorter laps. So if you had young kids wanting to run, they could just do one. Or if you had, you know, people that maybe were not so fit wanting to do one, then they could just do one. Or people might want to do the whole thing. So they feel part of it. And I just provide some refreshments at the end. And it was just one big celebration of it all, basically. And then the local press got in touch, and they came, and I was on ITV Wales. Live from that very pub with the running, and Runner's World magazine got in touch, and they wrote my story back in February this year. And other people have invited me to run in their races all over the world. So I went to Miami in January, and then I've been to Lake Garda and Italy. I did the Rome Ostia run. Just can't even think. And then loads of local runs like Snowdonia. I did one this weekend in Conway. So I'm just really grateful to the local community sort of letting me have this opportunity to keep the streak going. As you mentioned earlier, is all now to raise money for the charity Mind, because Julian, my ex-husband, suffered from mental health issues, as did I. And I would never, ever want anyone to ever go through that again. So I'm running, obviously, to try and get a Guinness World Record and beat my own, but also to raise awareness and hope that I can get other people involved with running, and make people aware that they can help themselves. They haven't always got to rely on the NHS or think that they're alone. Like, if they can just connect with something, it can transform their life. It's completely transformed my life. And I also set up a Facebook group called Streak with Helen. And again, it's still live, it's running, and anybody can join that. And you can join if you want, if you fancy streaking with me. And then I'm going to do like a challenge for the whole month of December. It'll be the whole month from start to finish, not just 28 days or not just up to Christmas. It will be for the whole thing to New Year. And I'll just post different things every day, different little challenges, like, you know, run past the Christmas tree, or I don't know, hand deliver a Christmas card to somebody, just to get people out and about and try and get them streaking and committing to doing something every day. Just, it's a really horrible time of year. I'm sat here in my coat. I'm sorry. I've not long come back from work, but it's freezing as well. And, you know, it's dark early outside, and it's, people can get depressed. So if I can encourage them to run with me and join in the fun, then, you know, I'm all for it.
Wow, what an incredible story. I mean, I love, first of all, I love your passion for this. I mean, your passion is so tangible. I can feel it,
Oh,
even through this call, and it's a wonderful thing because the world needs more of that, I mean, there's so many people out there who really need a little dose of enthusiasm for something. So that's the first thing. That's not a question. I just
oh.
wanted to say from me to you, your passion, it's not just a smile, you just light up with the passion for this, and it's incredible. But as I've said before, the impact you're having on people, as you were saying there, getting people out of the house, getting people involved in something, no matter how much that they do with it, whether it's one run, whether it's more, it's showing people these limits that we think we have up here often don't actually exist, or very rarely
Yeah,
exist at all.
exactly.
It's so powerful. So I'm amazed by all of that, and I'm not lost for words very often, but I was for a moment then. And there's another thing that you touched on there, though, that I think is very, very important as well. There's a couple of things actually, but one of them is obviously running. You're having all of this success. You obviously love it. You're in a beautiful part of the world as well to go running, and obviously the other countries as well. But on the days when you don't feel like it, on the days when it is raining, or obviously all the time it does in Wales. The one thing I don't miss. I miss some other things, but not that. But these sorts of things, or when maybe you're aching or something a bit more than usual, or you just don't feel like it. I mean, I like to run as well, and you never regret it when you actually get out there. But at the same time, I'm curious to get into your methods for um, pushing yourself past those lulls. So as well as you have the high points here, in order to get those high points, you have to get out there. And obviously now you've been doing this a while, so maybe it is just second nature. But in the beginning, pushing through those lower spots, what were some of your methods for doing that personally, if
Yeah,
you don't
so the first 100 days are really difficult. So there's this silly myth that it takes 21 days to form a habit, which I think is a load of rubbish. Like, I think my sweet spot was around 78, 79 days, something like that. So you need to do something consistently for 2 or 3 months at least before you're going to see any kind of result, I say. So the first 100 were difficult, but I'd done it before and I knew I could do it again. So I had that at the back of my mind. I also had a kind of mentor in this Micah Shavit, who was running in America every day. So I just knew somebody else was doing it. So sometimes if you know someone else is going through your pain, it kind of makes it a little bit less. Somehow it's strange. I didn't know anybody else who was doing a run streak at that point. I now follow quite a lot of athletes on Strava who are on run streaks of half marathons the same. So I find them really inspiring. But it's very, very simple. Like, there's no magic remedy, or like there's no pill to take. It's just reminding yourself every day that you're lucky to do this. Like, my dad died during this streak as well. He died on day 88 or 89, which was in the first 100 days. We knew he was ill and we knew it was going to happen at some point, but I wasn't there when it happened. And he knew I was running and he knew I was going to 150. So that's a big reason why I keep on going. Now I'm like, I'm way past that. But it's weird because I've run every day since then. I've also run every day since my sister's had a baby. So the baby's over 1, and I've run every day of that baby's life. I've run through 3 weddings and 1 funeral, another wedding this Saturday. So you have like little milestones in your head which keep you focused, and you have to commit. So I think streak is the key, a streak in anything, and hopefully not drinking beer or like going out or anything, but a streak of doing something good. It could be running, it could be biking, or any sort of form of exercise that you enjoy. But staying accountable is key as well. So announce it somehow. So for me, I post every day to social media. So it's not for like, look what I've done this before 7 o'clock. I don't care about kudos or gratitude. I'm not there for that. It's partly to help with my Guinness application at the end, because I have to prove what I've done, and it's to be accountable for myself. So then I know, like tomorrow, tonight I need to be in bed by 9:30 so I can get up at 4 a.m. And I know I need to post by a certain time so I can get the kids to school and get myself to work. So it just keeps me accountable. So there is no secret remedy. It's just reminding yourself that you're lucky. And, there's people in hospital beds that would love to do what we can do. There's women in the past that have fought for their freedom. They used to just have to stay at home, and we're able just to get up and go out. I can go out right now and have a run. I'm grateful. I think in today's society, people have lost that gratitude, and then they're just, we want an easy life. So people will just go to the gym where it's nice and warm and run on a treadmill. But part of the process has been running in all elements. So this is my 2nd winter running now, and actually, I love it. I love running in the dark. I'm not scared of it. And people ask me all the time, well, you're not scared of running in the dark? And the reason I'm not is because I've run all year. I've run every day, and to me, it's not dark. It's the same as it was in the summer. The roads are the same. Nothing's changed. It's actually dark. But then you get into like watching all the star formations, and you get to moon watching, and you get to sort of knowing what animals are around you. So you become a lot more mindful, and you tap into your own senses, and that mindful process of just being off your phone, just out in nature, breathing the fresh air, listening to your heart beating, and just pumping all that adrenaline through you, come rain or shine, just really is, like I say, transformed my life. And that's what keeps me going. Like, no 2 days are the same. There's never been a day where I've woken up and thought, I really don't want to go today. Like, I just don't want to go. I never give myself an opportunity to not go by running so early. Like, my alarm is set for 4 a.m. and I'm out that door at 4:15 every day, and a weekday without fail. Every morning I'm done by 6:30 or thereabout, 6:45 at the very latest. But some runs will be fast, some will be slow. I had one last week. I called it the grumpy run because I was really grumpy. Like, some days, some people might think I've got Tourette's because I'm just like moaning to myself. Other days I have to listen to cheesy tunes to get through. Some days I absolutely love it and I'm really fast. And my times can differ. And this is where, again, I think people go wrong. People that race and run a lot are all focused on like watches and times and getting PBs. And if it's not a certain distance or time, then it doesn't count. And it's a load of rubbish. Like, it's just about building up that habit of getting out there and doing it, because then you're lapping everybody else in my eyes. And you have the gears, you get to know your body. And if you need to push, like if I go to race, I know I can go much faster. I've knocked, I think, like 30 minutes off my time in a race, and it was easy. It was effortless. I talked the whole way around. So it's getting to know yourself by going every day and getting to know your strengths and weaknesses. And we all have them, including myself. I'm not superhuman. I'm just like you. I'm just like everybody else. But you have to spend that time to get to know yourself and get to know what makes you tick, where your weaknesses are, and put things in place so you don't mess up, so you do go out and you do get it done. And this is where we go wrong, because people like comfort. So it's just getting used to the consistency, I think.
Absolutely. Well, there's some fantastic lessons in there for runners, but there's also some fantastic lessons about life in general because some of the things you said there with the gratitude, the mindfulness, pushing past your limits in the sense, you get used to the distances and things. Some of those things are applicable to, well, as you said, other sports or people who are pursuing a business venture or their education or something. Some of the
Yeah.
those things are absolutely universal, but the advice for runners incredible as well. Now, before we go any further with those things, when people contribute to the fundraising side of things as well, and when people want to get involved in that, put some money in there. Obviously, you've said about social media, so I know people can join in the journey on there. And I will say to our audience, please do that because it's amazing when you look on there. And so I'll say to our audience, please do plug into what Helen's doing. But in terms of the fundraising side of things, how do people get more involved in that? We need to give that a plug, basically.
Yeah, thank you. So I've got a Just Giving page. Now let me try and remember it. It's www.justgiving.com/Helen Ryvar one. But if I've got that wrong, it is, I post it every day. I copy and paste it, so I don't pay much attention to the little intricate details anymore. I did have two Just Giving links actually. There was another one because I actually was gifted a trip. A company called Vinari Partners ran a competition earlier in the year, and it was an all expenses paid trip to Petra in Jordan to raise money for a charity of your choice. And you had to apply and you had to have like a certain criteria, like have been through something major, life changing to be able to get on it. And I was one of the really lucky 7 people to have got on this trip. So this was only a month ago or something that I went on the trip. And I thought the streak might have ended then, actually, but it carried on. I managed to run through the desert, which was, and that's another story. But just to clarify, there were 2 Just Giving links, but the Helen Ryvar one is the main one. And there's about, I think, just over £4,000 on there at the moment. And the other one's got maybe 250, £300 on it. So the more I can get and the more awareness, the better. And anyone is welcome to donate, obviously, at any point. I do have some collection boxes in local shops if anyone lives in Cly. I went in North Wales where I live, then there are, but there's no other way to donate. The money goes, every single penny goes direct to the charity if you donate online. So I'm going to keep it open and keep running for as long as I can and keep doing what I can to give back to this amazing charity. I've also been asked to speak in a festival next year called Positive Fest in Chester. And again, all the proceeds of that go to the charity Mind. So I'll just volunteer my time. It's completely free. But if I can give back, then I'm going to give back to the community and give back to Mind, who do a great job helping other people. So
Absolutely. It's incredible. I mean, as I've said earlier, the impact on people in terms of the inspiration, the social media, what you're doing is amazing. But the fundraising aspect as well is incredible. I'm glad you mentioned about Jordan as well. So yeah, we'll talk about that a moment as well because you've been on some amazing trips and they are each one or several that you've mentioned is like a once in a lifetime trip and you've been on several of them. So talking about gratitude, that must be an amazing thing. When it comes to running through the desert, yeah, I mean, it's something I've touched on this podcast because I have had a few people who've run in the Sahara Desert and done
EMD.
challenges across there. Yeah, that's right. And I've had people who've run that. So I've heard some stories about the heat preparation and all of this crazy stuff. But for you personally, can you share basically what it was like running in such an extreme environment that is so different from what you're used to doing around Wales? Maybe anything that stayed with you about the culture or any other things as well as the running would be really cool to
Yeah.
touch on as well. Thank
Well,
you.
it was the trip, just to give it a nutshell, the trip was we were hiking 75 kilometers. So we were hiking 5 of the 7 days, 15 kilometers a day anyway. Plus, I was planning on carrying on like a 21-kilometer on top of that in a desert, in the heat. And yeah, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, but I'm going to go with an open mind. If I can, I can. If I can't, I can't. And it's as simple as that. So I went And the first day was fine because we flew into Amman, which is like the main city, and obviously we had to be very careful because there's a war going on. This was just a month ago; it's still going on now, and it's terrible. But we checked with the local people if we were able to go out, and it was all fine. The locals were very hospitable. And then on the rest of the journey, we did actually have I think 4 or 5 Bedouin guides with us. We had an armed police officer, so we felt safe sort of going where we were going. But running as a single female in the dark, I mean, I think it's dark here, it's not dark here. In the desert it's dark. If you've been to a desert, you'll know. There's no sort of landmarks. Here we've got houses, we've got cars, we've got shops, we've got trees. In the desert it was just rocks and mountains and hills, and maybe one main road in areas, and then or one main path, but you can't really see it because there's no street lights. You've only got your head torch, which I can see 2 or 3 meters ahead with my head torch. And of course we were trekking through the day, and I didn't want my run streak to influence or jeopardize everybody's trek. We were trekking as a group of 7 people. So I decided I was going to try and run in the early hours of the morning, 4 till 6, like I would do here. And there were some challenging days. There was one day where I got completely lost, and I was only maybe 5 minutes from camp, but I didn't know that. You couldn't see anything, and there was no sunlight. So the desert wasn't what I expected. When you say the word desert, what initially comes to mind is arid white sands for miles and miles, maybe some sand dunes, maybe a camel in the distance, and maybe blazing heat. But it was very different. It was very much like the terrain in Snowdonia, I would say. So very rocky and mountainous and easy underfoot in areas. One area we stayed at, we were quite high up a mountain. It was probably as tall as Mount Snowdon. So it wasn't safe for me to run there in case I fell off. So the guide said, no, you need to just kind of incorporate the trek into your run. So while the others were kind of like eating their lunch, I was still moving and running. And it was a long half marathon that day, but I got it done. It was the only way I could get it done. So I'm just praying and hoping that Guinness will accept that one, because it took a lot longer that day than my other runs. But they can see the elevation, and I did videos of where we were, and they can see it's just unrealistic to think you couldn't run it like completely. You were like scrambling in areas. So it was just absolutely amazing. I always embrace any opportunity someone gives to me. Like, to go somewhere like that is just a once in a lifetime opportunity, honestly. And I wanted the streak and I wanted that, and I was like, well, I'll just try and do both, and just try and get the best out of it. And I did it, and it's another kind of like bow in my arrow. It's just, you can absolutely do anything if you put your mind to it. And I hope I've shown that to people. Like, it doesn't have to stop you if you just go with the right mindset and plan it. So I planned as much as I could. Obviously, I was in a foreign country, in a desert, with no landmarks, with people I just met, running at 4 a.m. as a single female when there's a war going on not far away. You've got American fighter planes flying over your camp on an evening, and here's Helen going off for her half marathon run. So in hindsight, it sounds a little bit crazy, but because I had been running so much, my mind was already strong. I knew I could do the distance. That day I mentioned before, where I got a bit disorientated and a bit lost, I actually found an old shoe. There was just an old shoe and a glass bottle, a Pepsi bottle, and I put them half a mile away from each other. I just ran shuttles back and back and back and back just until the daylight, till the sun rose, just to get it done, because I knew it was like a flat bit. And then when I could see the camp was just there, I was like, oh God, I could have gone, and I was only meters away from where I needed to be, but you just can't see. You can't see in any direction. So you just have to kind of wing it. And then you can hear the dogs. You can hear all the like these crazy dogs. And you're like, oh, I don't want to get bitten by a dog. So you've got to be sensible in it. But there's lots of different ways of getting things done, and I found them. So yeah. So it was amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, it was such a vivid description there for a moment. I was really picturing in my mind what it's like and everything, because I felt like I was there for a moment with the way you were
Oh,
describing so vividly. I mean, obviously, some of the desert stuff, we have things a bit like that here in Cyprus, so I've sort of seen that. But some of the other things, it was like, wow, I really felt like I was there. So Absolutely awesome. So a couple of other things, and then we'll wrap this up fairly soon because it'd be a good length for people to watch and listen to. But a couple of other things. One thing I think is very important to mention is we've been focusing very much on the running itself and what you're doing, but when it comes to other areas of your life, I'm curious to get to how running for this long and the discipline and all of these things, pushing past the limits, how that's impacted on other things like with your work, with your children, with other, with your friends. Not to get into anything personal like that, but just in terms of how it's changed other areas of your life. Because doing something as big as this, I'd imagine you're bound to be quite different as a person from when you started and everything. So I think that looking at it might sound strange, but looking at like the whole Helen, not just Helen the runner, if that makes sense,
Yeah,
and just to touch on the impact it's had, like with other things, because I'd imagine other challenges that come up in your life, for example, probably seem a lot smaller now,
yeah,
because of things like that. If you get where I'm going with this side of things.
yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I'm tired, which is a thing. Obviously, it's a constant battle with tiredness. I'm a self-employed cleaner now, so um, I can do sort of 50,000 steps a day. At the end of the day, it's really insane. But I get to choose my hours, and I get to choose my work really somewhat. But I don't like letting people down either. So I'm if however I feel I turn up anyway. There's not a day where I've rung in sick. I always, I'm very good like that. But I like my mum has taught me to be like that, just be like clockwork, basically. Just um, keep routines going and just show up and just. I guess it's impacted the kids a little bit in that I don't have the energy on an evening to always do loads of stuff with them. Like often I'll be in bed before they go to bed now because they're teenagers, and I go to bed between 9 and 10. They might still be up playing the game or watching telly or something, but it's also impacted them in a good way. So in the mornings, because I'm running so early, we've only got one main bathroom in my house, so they know they have to get a shower before I get back, or else they're screwed. They have to wait till I get out with my bath. So they naturally get up early. I haven't told them to, but they'll be up and they'll be ready, and they'll do all of those kind of little things. But they respect what I do, and their friends all respect what I do, and they've even run, some of the big milestone runs with me. And I'm pretty sure it's encouraged my eldest daughter to. She's a lifeguard now, just as a part-time sort of job around school and stuff. But she's done that off her own back, and all three kids are really, really organized because I have to be as well. So I have to prep my food. I have to think ahead, where am I going to work this week? What am I going to do? How am I going to fit in time with my loved ones, my mum and my dad when he was about, hospital visits, stuff like that. And that's why the only way it'll work for me is if I run at 4 o'clock in the morning. So as crazy as that sounds, that is the hardest thing, getting up at 4. But once you're up and you're out, it's okay. You're just doing it. So it's just putting in routines and sticking to them. And then I know when I come back from work at 5:30, I've got all my evening to enjoy with the kids. And on a weekend, I keep it all flexi time so I can just do what I want, run when I want. But I try and box it off in the morning because I just like to get it done. But it won't be at 4 o'clock on a weekend, and it might be somewhere different. So I might go and run a race, or I might go and run up a mountain or do something else. But some things have taken a back seat. Like I love photography, so I can do that when I'm running, but it's not the same as going out with the camera. I used to go out a lot paddleboarding, open water swimming, those kind of things are really good fun. But running's kind of taken over. You just don't have the energy to do it all. I used to go to the gym quite a lot, 3 or 4 times a week, and do CrossFit and weights and all of that jazz. But I don't miss it. I like I say, the running is so simple. You haven't got to get in a car to go anywhere. You can just put your trainers on, lace up and go out. So no matter where I am, if I'm at home, if I'm at my mum's, if I'm on holiday, there's no excuses not to do it. And the kids just get used to me, like mummy's just disappearing for 2 hours again, or they can come with me. We just kind of work it. It just works most of the time just by keeping to a strict schedule. Yeah. And being organized.
Absolutely. Well, again, it's an amazing insight into some of these other aspects as well, because it's bound to have the positive impacts on other areas of your life, as we've mentioned. Yes, making some changes as well. I mean, that's the realism. But yeah, the time of the morning. I mean, it's incredible to hear about that, because I had a question in mind about the time management, and you've explained that, which is great. But it's an incredible discipline. But you must see some nice sunrises and things, and this,
Oh yeah, that's that,
these.
that's very very grounding seeing the sunrises. But I chose that time for the main reason was because I realised that sort of after 9 o'clock at night I used to just sit and graze like I would do nothing else. Excuse me. I would sit, I would watch telly, I wouldn't do anything productive. I would overeat stuff because I was tired. And a lot of people have this time now where what do you do between 9 o'clock at night and 11 o'clock at night? A lot of people call it relax, but for me, the best thing for me to do is go to bed, and sleep. And I go to bed and my head hits the pillow and I'm asleep, and then wake up early. So these 2 or 3 hours now, if I can get them asleep, plus an extra 3 or 4, I'm okay to get up at 4 o'clock. And yes, it's hard to begin with, but actually, when you see the sunrises, like you just said, they're incredible. Like there are some incredible sunrises, and I've videoed them. You can see them. I wouldn't remember what day it is now, but there's some. The skies are bright red, and oh, they're just amazing. I mean, that's the only thing you miss at the moment because all my images are black because it's dark. But it would be dark if I ran now in the evening, or it'd be dark in the morning anyway. So there's not much to see. So I do try and run to Wrexham, to town where there's some lights and some interest, but it's going to get fun soon with the Christmas trees, isn't it? And the Christmas decorations. So I'm going to kind of make some little challenges for myself to run city to city and stuff with that. But yeah, the sunrises at 4 in the morning are incredible, and really grounding to see them every day. Like I've seen a sunrise every day pretty much this year. And there's not many people that can say that. Like, why wait to go on holiday to see the sunrise? That's what people do. They wait to go on holiday to get up early to see a sunrise, or they'll get up early and they'll go and climb a mountain. I'm like, just go and find your local mountain. Get up early from your own bed. And somehow it's just not the same when you're at home, but it can be. And it can be that simple. And if they just try it, they might like it.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, again, it puts things in perspective about enjoying what's around you, and appreciating that. And this, obviously, you said about the city to city and all this side of things, and that leads me to really the final topic to get into, which is obviously looking forward from here. I don't mind how far forward in time we go, or how far forward you're planning this, or anything like that. But just to get a feel, I know you're not stopping. I mean, that much we do know. So what is next for you, Helen? Obviously, you're keeping up with the runs, but in terms of specific goals, or in terms of anything you'd like to share about the future, would be fantastic, please.
Yeah, crikey. So with the running, there is no end goal as such. The only motivating person I've got for that, or the only thing back in my mind, is this Micah, who challenged me, and he's aiming for 1,000. So he will hit 1,000 consecutive half marathons this year. He'll hit that on Boxing Day, I think it is. So he's like, if I can do it, you can do it. I'm like, it means going to 2025, which is all of next year. This year, all of next year, and some of January. But I would love to be the first female to do that. I would love that so much. And that is niggling at the back of my mind, that goal. But then I also know that that's a lot to ask for. My kids are at an age where they need me now. One's going to uni, and do I want to sacrifice that time? Because everything comes at a cost. Everything comes at a cost. So I'm just considering it at the moment. I'd be happy if I get to 600, which is going to be this year. I'm not far off them, about a month off there. But yeah, I other goals. So next year I've got the Chester Ultra already booked in. That's been deferred for a couple of years because I've been doing this run streak, and it could be deferred again. Yeah, I don't know if I carry on this run streak. Obviously, I can't really throw an ultra into the mix. It would just be too much. I have thrown some marathons into this mix though. So there have been 2 or 3 official marathons I've run as part of this. I've got the Brighton Marathon as well. I didn't get into London again, so if anyone wants to give me a place for London, I'll be happy to run it. But I never get in, never get in. and not even through Mind, which is a shame. But yeah, if anyone would like to get me into London, I'd love to do some official races as well. So my goal would be to kind of go to Berlin and Paris and just kind of all around the world, anywhere, and just run some official half marathon races. And just keep the streak alive and keep people engaged and hopefully running with me. uh, I have got some other ideas for challenges after this. I can't just finish without having something else in place. And I don't want to disclose them yet because they may or may not happen. But it would be something different, and it would be an FKT, so a fastest known time. So it'd be a different challenge for me as well. So rather than a streak, which is endurance, it would be a fastest time. So that's what I'm going to say. But yeah, no other goals, but to keep on running really with a goal of maybe 1,000. Who knows? But just taking it day by day. And at the minute, today's goal is just to run tomorrow. So just see how long I can take it, see how big I can grow the community with Streak with Helen on the Facebook group, and just see how far we can take it all together.
Absolutely incredible, absolutely amazing. The future is very, very bright for you. Obviously, there's a lot of opportunities there, so I'm excited to see where it goes as well.
Thank you.
And yeah, I mean, obviously, we've mentioned the group, we've mentioned the just giving and everything. So everyone listening to this, please check those out as well. Keep an eye on what Helen's doing because no signs of slowing down at the moment. And I'm excited to see where it goes as well because I mean you've already pushed so far past what a lot of people would consider even feasible, and so it's amazing to see how far you can go from here. I think there might be room for an episode 2 with this, maybe next year or obviously a little while as things develop. But I could definitely see that as a possibility as well. We'll see how it goes. But for now, I mean, as I said before, Helen, I'm super grateful for your time. I'm super grateful for you being an open book and sharing your passion. I mean, you shared a lot about your life. You've shared the fun stories from runs, but the mindset and the motivation, and those were the two things I was aiming for. We've covered those and then some. But the passion and the enthusiasm and the just the love of life, that you bring to this bring to this podcast today and bring to everything you do. I love that. So keep that fire burning brightly. And yeah, other than that, just thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it. It honestly exceeded my expectations. I really do mean that.
Oh,
I knew it would be good, but it's really, it's gone. We've gone deeper into things, and it's been very exciting, very interesting to listen to. And so yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it as well. And just thank you for your time, really.
absolutely. Likewise, everything you've just said. Thank you for your time too, and what you're doing is great. So we appreciate you. And yeah, definitely we'll speak again next year.
Absolutely. It sounds like a plan. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.